and what happens when you get there. Had he known what was coming, Lewis might have stayed in bed. James Lewis was born in London when the 19th century was just a few weeks old, on 16th February 1800. London was a fetid, heaving thing, twice the size of Paris, growing in all directions, and the dirtiest city in the world. Lewis was brought up in its rotten heart, in the shadow of the Tower of London, a labyrinth of streets, lightless and reeking, littered with dead animals and menaced by gangs. The most barefaced villains, swindlers, and thieves walk about the streets in the daytime, wrote Pierce Egan in 1821. The most vicious and abandoned wretches, who are lost to every friendly tie that binds man to man, are to be found in swarms in the metropolis. The air was full of soot. The Thames was a ribbon of sewage. London stank. Wandering the streets amidst that huge fermenting mass of humankind, Wordsworth felt horrified and utterly alone. How oft amidst those overflowing streets have I gone forward with the crowd and said unto myself, the face of everyone that passes by me is a mystery. Even as a child, Lewis knew that Britain was not kind to people like him. To survive London, you needed money, family connections, or cartoonish reserves of rage and guile. It seems, Egan wrote, some poet has humorously described London as the devil. When Lewis was a teenager, the British economy was teetering on the brink of collapse. London's streets filled up with the newly homeless. Leigh Hunt, first publisher of Keats and Shelley, wrote of protests at bankruptcies, seizures, executions, imprisonments, great arrears of rent. The government responded with the sympathy which has marked British attitudes to the poor for centuries. They announced a plan to execute the protesters. Lord Byron, speaking in Parliament in 1812, tried in vain to raise some sympathy. Nothing but absolute want could have driven a large and once honest and industrious body of the people into the commission of excesses so hazardous to themselves, their families, and the community. They were not ashamed to beg, but there was none to relieve them. Can you commit a whole county to their own prisons? Will you erect a gibbet in every field, and hang up men like scarecrows? Lewis could see no future for himself in this broken land. On 5th October 1821, at the age of 21, he enlisted in the army of the British East India Company, hoping for a better life. The East India Company began life as a trading company, running ships back and forth between Britain and the East. But, propelled by fear and greed, it gradually expanded from its coastal trading posts. Local rulers were bullied, blackmailed, and deposed, one after another. Horace Walpole called the company a crew of monsters in the 1770s, but it was just getting started then. By the 1820s, the company was the dominant power in India. No multinational corporation today could match it at its height. The company had a gigantic private army. It had spies everywhere. It was the largest drug dealer in history, pushing tons of opium every year. It cared only for profit. It was the god of capitalism. Many of the company's officials returned to Britain laden with gold, the spoils of trade, and loot from 100 Indian treasuries. They have, wrote William Cobbett, long been cooking and devouring the wretched people of both England and India. But Lewis quickly realized that fame and fortune were reserved for his betters, not for private soldiers like him. His job in the Bengal artillery